Hey, ¿qué pasa, Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Like always, before we begin, I want to thank a couple of people. First of all, I want to start by thanking my friends here at Calexico Brewing Company for allowing me to record today's episode here. Also want to thank my sponsors, Camilo Garcia, Jake, Eddie Lopez from Roots Creative, Ms. Norma Galindo, IID Director representing Division 5 and serving the entire Imperial Valley. I want to thank Will Torres from Valley Sports Network, your Imperial Valley source for sports. Sergio's Tacos and Hotdogs, with 8 years of experience serving the Imperial, San Diego, and Yuma counties with Mexicali-style hot dogs and taquizas. Contact Sergio at 760-562-0057 or look for Sergio's Tacos and Hotdogs for your next event. I want to thank Eric Reyes from Los Amigos de la Comunidad, empowering communities together. Finally, I want to thank David Gastelum. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home in the Imperial or San Diego counties, make sure you contact David. He's not only a realtor, but an investor with over 20 years of experience, and he'll help you along the way in one of the most important investments of your life. Contact David at 760-235-9576. And today, my guest today is a former Brawley City Council member. He's an employee for the IID. He's actually, I just learned he was born here in Calexico, and now he's running for IID Division 3. My guest today is Mr. Don Campbell. Thank you for being here today.
Yes. Good afternoon. And I want to thank Jose for having me down here to do this interview. I'm really excited about it, and I'm going to be a little honest. I'm a little bit nervous, but I've seen some of his interviews, and I want to thank my buddy Will Torres. Will Torres sent me a text and said, "Don, you got to go down and interview with this guy. He's really good." So I sent the email over to Jose, and he invited me in today. So here I am, and we're going to sit down and chat and talk about some of the IID things and some of just life things in general, you know. And I'll start about where I came from and how I got here. I was actually born in Calexico. Jose mentioned that. I grew up in El Centro, and I actually grew up in the projects in El Centro.
Me too, here in Calexico.
Yep, 177 East Hope, project number 28. And I'm really proud of that, you know, and I grew up there until I was like 14 years old. And after graduation out of high school, I met my wife, and I ended up getting married to Bertha Thomas. She's from the Thomas family in Brawley. That's how I ended up in Brawley. But I've been at the IID working there for the last 47 years. A really good company. I've been fortunate. You know, it's been a blessing to be able to get on with the IID. It pays well, and you know, you can earn a decent living. You know what I mean? I was really fortunate and blessed to be elected to Brawley City Council in 2003. I spent 12 years on the council and met some wonderful, wonderful people on that journey. And I think we did a lot of good things in Brawley while I was there. And not saying that the other council members or other councils didn't do a good job. I'm just thinking about some of the things we did with the upgrading the wastewater treatment plant, the second fire station. That was something that the people in Brawley talked about for a long time, because you know there was not a fire station on the other side of town, and when the train went by, they would always remind us, we need a fire station over here, you know, because unfortunately, I guess years ago there was a person passed away because they couldn't get medical attention because of the train. But no, when I was on city council, I had the opportunity to work on different committees, the League of California Cities, SCAG. I would go to LA like the first Monday of every month. I was on the development committee and the transportation committee with SCAG, and I learned a lot of how things took place, who you had to know and how you had to get there, you know, to get things done. But it's been a long journey, and I'm really looking forward to this election for IID. And I told Jose, the other three candidates that's running, I know them, we're good friends, and I truly wish them the best of luck. And like I said, who's ever successful, I'm gonna be there to support them, you know, because we're representing Division 3 in the North End, but honestly, we're representing all the ratepayers in the district service area. So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking at being a full-time director if I'm elected. working for the IID every day on a daily basis, working with the ratepayers and the community, listening to the community and the ratepayers and seeing what are some of their needs, and not knowing every little thing and knowing you can't come through on every little thing, but people just want somebody to listen to them, to hear them out, and try to do your best to take care of them. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
You mentioned that you worked for the ID for the past 47, 48 years, and you're, I don't know if you want to say your age, but
yes, I'm 68 years old.
You're 68, and people, like you told me, people have been telling you should retire, and now you're going into running for IID director seat. Why now? What made you decide to?
I was thinking about running some time back, and Mr. Hanks and I are good friends, and I've always said that I would never run against him. I consider him to be a very good director, and he really took care of us. And I mentioned to him, if he ever decided that he wasn't going to run, and I would jump in there and give it a shot. And it kind of took me a little while this time to put my name in the hat, because I was waiting for him to make sure that he wasn't going to run, and being patient, and I don't blame him. Once he did come and let me know he wasn't going to run, and then I was ready to go. I was ready for it, you know.
You bring a different perspective, being an employee for the IID. I mean, the other two candidates, they have, two of them have some experience in politics. One of them is threading you to this, politic game. But you bringing that perspective from, as an employee from the IID, do you think that would make you a better candidate, a better director than somebody that's coming off, might be a politician, but doesn't really know the ins and outs of it?
I think the advantage that I would have there is knowing who to go to, knowing what questions to ask, knowing who would have that information. Even being a director, a lot of times you even hear current directors saying, well, we didn't get all the information, or we didn't get exactly what we needed. Well, I know the ins and outs of the IID. I know exactly who to go to and who to talk to about certain things, whether it be water, energy, finance. I happen to work in the support services, so I touch a little bit of all of IID. So I think it's important to know who to go to get that information. And I think when people know you personally, it's a little different. They're more comfortable dealing with you and opening up to you, So I'm looking forward to that, and I think it would be good to have someone that knows all the interactions of the company like that. It makes it a little easier to navigate through there.
Yeah, for sure. Currently there's a kind of like a division within the board. When you see that, what do you think? Is it something good that there's division? Is it bad? How does it affect the ratepayers?
Positive interaction like that is good, but when it gets personal, and then it's not. And I've seen some of the personal things that go on, and you just kind of wish that. Are we always going to agree? No, but you would hope that they would kind of keep some of the personal stuff in the back room where the public doesn't see it, because it's growing up in sports. Things happen in the locker room, man, and it happens. But it's okay to happen in the locker room, long as it don't get out in front of the cameras and in the public. And I look at the IID board the same way. Some of those disagreements and interactions that they have, they need to keep that in closed session or in the back where the public don't see that. Yeah, you're not always going to agree on everything. And to me, if you don't get heated, and then, there's things that get you heated, man, and it just happens. It's part of it, and that's that compassion, and you need that, but they just need to keep it under control, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that showing that division, on the cameras or for the public, does it lend to outside people coming in and trying to, maybe get in and bring in more, we've had the issue where they want to bring in more board members from other counties, or people trying to buy our water. Does it lend to that?
I think what tends to happen is other agencies and other folks see that we're not together, that we're not bonded. So they see that void, they see that weakness. So then they think, maybe we're not quite connected and know what's going on. It tends to send the wrong perception. I really do, because like I said, I've been involved in city government for as long as I was. I spent a lot of time in Sacramento and up in the different areas, and you kind of hear some of that chatter sometimes. You guys are spoiled. You guys got a lot of water. You're not utilizing it right. You're not efficient. So when they see that kind of back and forth going on, then they feel they can make a move and do what they need to do. And that's why I say, quite naturally, you're not going to always agree on everything, but when they see that aggressiveness that's out of control, and then that's when I think they start thinking that way.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody that not everybody, most of the people that run for IID always one of their like their, what do you call it? Their talking points is, I'm gonna make sure that the rates stay low or that the rates go down. What do you think when people say that? Do you think it's a promise that you should be making to the public?
Well, the way I look at that is that's something that you need to try to achieve, but the district needs to be operated like a business. And I think that's some of what's wrong, with the internal operation of the company. This company needs to be operated as a business. This is almost $1 billion a year company. You can't produce a product and sell it for less than what it takes you to produce it. And quite naturally, you want to keep rates low. But what happens to your system? What happens to your infrastructure when you're not taking care of things? And don't get me wrong, I'm not putting our elected officials down or our staff down, but I do know that some of our generating facilities, they're 30, 40 years old. We've been looking at the pole replacement program for several years. They have done a lot of upgrades in the water system with the automated gates, Rubicons, the laptops in the water operated pickups, so they can make adjustments on the run. But when you're not putting money back into the company, investing back into the company, and then you get a system or an infrastructure that is aging and failing the way it does. The R line, the S line, that those transmission lines need to be taken care of. We need battery storage. They bought the property in the south end to build the other reservoir in the south end. We need to get those things done. And it takes that cohesiveness and that working together. When you got budgets, you need to make sure you make those deadlines and get things done.
Yeah, and I mean, infrastructure is really, really important, and I think it's something that isn't talked about enough. And IID, like I said before, IID is a monster when it comes to being a director, because you're dealing with employees, with their unions, you're dealing with water, and that's really a big commodity now. Like, people really want the water now because people forget that we've been in a drought for the past, I don't know how long,
several years.
So that's becoming a huge commodity for us. Something that people wanted, and we got to fight to make sure we keep it. And then you're dealing with infrastructure,
Yes.
I think a lot of the community sees IID as the company that we pay our electrical bill to, but they don't really see everything that goes behind it. And it's like I said, I mean, I was talking to another candidate, and I'm like, in terms of the political ecosystem here in the Imperial Valley, I feel that the IID is the big daddy, because
it's up there.
Without the water,
it's the lifeblood of the valley. And and power, energy is important too, but water is the lifeblood of this valley. The ag industry is billions of dollars a year. It creates a lot of jobs. So when we don't take care of it and be efficient and take care of the infrastructure, it causes issues. It really does, And I've said it. being there and being involved, I give the growers a lot of credit. They've done a good job in working with the district with this water conservation and making sure they're conserving water. They're talking about the overrun coming up here. I'm thinking if we just make sure on our water orders and be efficient with what we're using, hopefully we can avoid that overrun. I really think them working together, meaning the growers and the IID and everybody that's involved, hopefully we can avoid that. But energy is a huge thing, and I'll go back to it. I really think we need to do a real deep dive into our infrastructure in-house and make sure we're generating enough energy to keep the lights on. I know our portfolio says that we generate 1,100 megawatts of power a year. Is that what it's designed to do, or is that really what it's doing? Because I know when you have to go out and do purchase power agreements, people really look at that. And I can tell you, I've been out on the streets talking to folks that they're not real happy, and I'm not going to avoid the question. People says, you really need to be against that. You can't be in favor of the district making those kind of agreements. But if you don't have enough energy to keep the lights on and keep people going in the summertime when the peak is really, really high, you got to do nothing is not an option.
Yeah.
The question I would have is the term of the agreement. I understand it's $154 million agreement. Could we have done a shorter term and invest some of that money in-house to get our system where it needs to be? Mm-hmm. Because I watched that meeting, and I remember the question was asked to Mr. Martinez, just in the Coachella Valley alone, what is the projected kilowatt that's going to be needed in the next few years? And if I remember right, he said 500 megawatts. He said even if they only needed half of that, 250 megawatts, do we have the power to supply it? No. So you got to make a tough decision on how you do that. And I do, and I've said it before, we need to take a deep dive in-house and make sure we're generating enough energy to be sufficient, self-sufficient.
Yeah.
The last big energy project that I remember the IID having was Unit 3 at the steam plant. And that was several years ago. I know a lot of the hydros and stuff on the All-American, some of those facilities is 30, 40 years old. It's hard to be efficient or to keep up with demand today when you're operating like that.
Yeah, and if it's a 30-year-old technology, I'm sure that newer technology can maybe even produce more energy with the same...
For less money.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to that, you bring that perspective, to, in terms of the candidates that are in that division, you each have a different, Gina Doxeret brings a business perspective to it. Ms. Maria brings she's been in politics for a long time. She looks out for, for a lot of the people out in the North End. And Ramon, he's what do you call it? Like he's out
there. Like he's dealing with people. He's out there.
Yeah, he's like a plug, like a spark. He's on the go all the time. And you mentioned that you're happy to see all these candidates because you know that it's going to be well represented.
Right.
And but do you feel that we need somebody that's more and on the board? We need somebody that's more in the know of, make sure that they're advocating for infrastructure other than.
Oh, yeah, because, again, that goes back to not only understanding what infrastructure needs are and where it's at, but you need to know who to go to connect those dots to make that happen. Because if you have to start from scratch on every little project, it's almost impossible within people tell you when you get elected, well, it takes the first year or two just learning you need to be able to hit the ground running and knowing what's going on with some of these things, man, to make it happen. If you're gonna spend the first year or two learning the ins and outs of IID, that's 2 years already gone. I think that's the advantage that I have, knowing the ins and outs of IID. I know how they operate. I know what some of the infrastructure needs are. I know who to go to. I'm involved in the budget process. I know them personally. I know what questions to ask. That makes that cuts through a lot of the minutia, and get right to the point.
Yeah, and cuts out on time on
Exactly.
like you said, learning who to talk to, where to go.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the lithium that they're trying to extract from the Sunset?
I think that's a really good opportunity for the whole Imperial County, and again, I've heard the chatter out there about how those royalties should be divided up or whatever, but that property is owned by the IID, and if I'm a director, would I be willing to have the conversation on how we could use some of those funds to help the North End? Sure. Because I can tell you, bro, I live in Brawley. I've been in Brawley for over 20 years. Calapat, Nyland, North Shores up in that area is really struggling. They need help. And I think between the district and the county working together with some of that lithium, use some of that royalty to help those cities. I've been at the district long enough. I know when all that flooding was happening from the Salton Sea, I was there, bro. IID was getting sued by people from every angle. That's why they bought all that property. The IID was buying property that was under saltwater that was worth nothing. Mm-hmm. Now there's going to be something really positive come out of that, and quite naturally, people want a piece of the pie, and it's okay. That's human nature. You know what I mean? But the district owns that property. And I'm sure that all the IID board of directors and staff will be willing to sit down and have that conversation on how to extract that lithium and do it in an environmental safe way, and then help those communities up there that's having a tough time. Because I can tell you, Nyland and Calapat and up in that area, they're having a tough time, and they're part of us. That's part of our community. Mm-hmm. We need to have that conversation to try to help them.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's gonna be a lot of money and funding that's gonna come into for that project, and hopefully, it gets to stay here and people take advantage of it, and we help out.
Oh yeah. Create jobs. Ramon and I have had that conversation about the water rates and stuff up in the Calapat and up in the north, because the water plant is privately owned. You can't just go and take over a private business, but hopefully the district and the county can get together and maybe do something to reduce some of those charges for those folks. Because man, it is. The rate that they're paying for water is outrageous. It's outrageous, and we need to have that conversation. We really do.
Yeah, and sometimes the people sometimes also think that the ID is the one that makes, especially in your city, they put the prices on water, but no, the city is in charge of. But there's a way that maybe the ID can help.
Well, yeah, I think if the IID and the county work together to get with that water company, Golden, I'm not even sure the name of it, the private water company that operates over there. Quite naturally, and I don't know if people understand really what it takes to operate a water company. You gotta have certified operators and inspection. It's very expensive, bro. I don't know if people really realize what that cost is. But by it being private, they're making a profit too. The district sells raw water to all the cities at the same price. It's $20 an acre foot. And those companies decide how they're gonna distribute and how they charge that. But I really would like to see the district and the county get together and work with that company to try to reduce some of those charges for those folks, because it really is expensive.
Yeah. I guess the big question that we always ask the people running for ideas, water rights. What do you think about water rights? What do you think, in terms of, do you think that people should be able to sell their water outside if they're not using it, or do we need to make sure that it stays here? You know, that's the big question.
I think that's called allocation at the gate. I think the water belongs to all the people. As far as any other water transfers, that should not happen privately or even within the district. I don't think we should be looking at transferring any more water. The law on the river, people talk about renegotiating. I think we need to fight to make sure we keep the rights that we have. You know, that 3.1 million acre feet a year is what we're allocated. We need to continue to make sure that we have that. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as a landowner having the right to say, I've got so much land, that water should come to me. I should be able to do whatever I want to do with the water. Well, that takes the water away from the people too then. You know, so it's a catch-22 kind of. I think so when you have a company that's kind of overseeing all of it, and then it doesn't get personal, because you virtually could have several different water companies, I guess, if you allow that to happen. Yeah. You know, and I think that went to court. And I think the court decided that that's not an equitable way to manage the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, and you know, I think that's why everybody asked, because you know, it went all the way to court, but yet they mm-hmm. still keep fighting to be able to sell this water, and yeah, it's I mean, it's a natural resource, and in reality, like it's not even, we're getting that water from somewhere else, right? We have. Yeah.
I don't know if people understand how that actually operates. The district doesn't sell water. The district sells this delivery service to the cities and to the growers. In other words, that $20 an acre foot they're not charging you that for the water. They're charging you that for the service, the delivery of the water, because the water belongs to the people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, it's coming from the Colorado, mm-hmm. It's crazy to think about, how we get our water here.
Yeah, a lot of times when people understand that, they're like, I thought the district was selling water. Well, they sell the service, basically. Mm-hmm. They sell that delivery. Mm-hmm. And I think the district has done a good job. I think the district has done a good job managing the water. And again, the growers have done well, and again, you're not going to always agree on every little thing, Jose. But I think the growers in the district has worked well here lately with water conservation, with the transfer that is in place, and things are looking up. We've really come a long way with being able to manage water and make adjustments on the run with the AM runs, the PM runs, the 12-hour run. Stock water. The district has done a good job working with the growers and the cities too, to make that happen. Mm-hmm.
We're almost at 30 minutes, and that's what I'm giving the candidates. What would be your elevator pitch or your 2-minute pitch to somebody that you meet out on the streets? And
normally when I meet people, I introduce them, tell them who I am. A lot of people know me, but you have to approach them like they don't know you, and I tell them that my heart and my goal is to work for the community, for the people, to work for them, to hear them, to hear their concerns. And I tell people, you can't promise everything. And Jose, I don't want to get off the question, but I've served on hundreds of interview panels for the IID, and one of the questions at the end of that process is, why do you think you're the best qualified candidate for this position? And I tell them, I'm thinking in my own mind, if I was on the other side of the table, I would be honest. I would say, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm more qualified than Ramon, Gina, or Maria. But what I will promise you and assure you is they won't outwork me. Mm. You know what you know. They know what they know. They have attributes that you don't have. But when you have that attitude to say, hey, I'm going to be there working for you every day. I'm going to be a full-time director for you every day. This is not a part-time gig. I'm going to be there working for you. And I think that's what you have to ensure into people, that they know once you get elected, oh well, he's elected. He's another politician, and he's on about his business. No, that's not what it's about. You have to be able to do this, even if it wasn't a pay involved.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I want to be there to serve you. I want to hear you. Call me. I want to hear you. I want to call you back. I'm not going to make promises that I know that's just out of this world. Well, I'm going to get in there and reduce all the rates. Come on. You don't go in there and tell people that,
Yeah.
You want to tell people that you want to have fair and equitable rates where the company can be solvent and you can be solvent also, and people need to understand there's nothing free, and a lot of times people talk about reducing rates and changing this and changing that. You only one vote. You have to get in there and work as a team to make sure that the rates are as reasonable as they can be, and your community is revolving and growing. You know what I mean? And I try to ensure people that. And I always tell them, you know what? I may not be able to tell you what you want to hear, but I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to give you my full effort on my job. And I'm looking forward to this election. Like I said, I don't take it for granted. And people say, well, you need to be confident you're going to win. Well, I'm going to be confident I'm going to work hard to try to earn the vote. But you that's what you need to do. Just not take it for granted. And I'm not out here to put the other candidates down or discredit them. And I wish them well. And if I'm not successful, like I said, I'm going to be there supporting them. Because that's my community. Yeah. We're family.
Yeah, and I think it's something that it's key. Like when you mention that, because a lot of times when you have election season and you feel that there's a candidate that, it's happened to me where I feel like, this candidate is really good. He has really good ideas. It would be nice if he would, get on whatever board he's running for. And if they lose, they just fade away and
they don't care.
Yeah, and it's really important to because at the end of the day, like, you're running to help your community.
Yes.
So if you lose, you still want to be there to help your community. So being able or being available for whoever wins to share ideas, share thoughts is the best way you could.
Oh yeah, I've been involved with Little League. I was Brawley Popwana president for about 5 years, and everybody should experience that. I tell people, if you want to experience something, you get involved with the youth and get in there and really get involved and help some of those that needs help. Because, bro, when you get in there and start dealing with that, you understand there's some folks that's really struggling, man, and that was one of the things that brought out the hunger in me to help my community. I grew up on the east side. I grew up in the projects. I understand what it is, bro, to not have, and God has blessed me to be at the district and to be in the right place at the right time, maybe, because I wasn't an angel growing up. I done some stupid things, man. And if I had got caught doing some of those stupid things, your reputation precedes you, your record precedes you. They look at your application and you got those blemishes on there. You're not going to get those jobs, And I've been blessed to be able to be at the district and it's worked longevity as long as I have, and support my family and earn a good living. But to taste the other side of that really make you know that, hey, you need to get in there and contribute and help some of these folks that's struggling. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to do. I want to continue to do that. The 47 years at the district went by like that. The 12 years I was on city council, man, and now I'm looking, even at, bro, I would run for this position even if it didn't pay. It's not about the money with me. Mm-hmm. I would run even if it didn't pay. And I tell people right now, if I'm elected, I'm going to be a full-time director. You're going to see me every day, working for my ratepayers and my community, and not just for Division 3, but all the divisions. I come up to Calexico a lot. I go over and see Morris, and Morris, I need some signs, I need some banners, and you know, I've been dealing with him for years, man. And Morris is a good guy, man. You know, he helps me a lot. You know, he gives me ideas and things, and so it's been really good. It's been a nice journey, and people think, yeah, you should just go and just retire and relax. Well, I'll do that after I'm done, man. I got energy right now, you know. And I want to get out there and work, and I want to be a servant, you know. I think I have the will to do it. I think I have the know-how. I know a lot of the people, so I'm ready. I'm ready, man. And Jose, I really appreciate you inviting me down and letting me come down, because once Will contacted me, and I told him, I said, Will, I think I've seen one of those interviews. He said, Don, contact this guy. Okay, well.
Well, shout out to Will. Thank you, Will, for.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's my buddy, man.
Yeah. It was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you. Where can people reach out to you if you have any questions about your campaign and stuff like that?
You can call me at 760-550-8187, or you can get me on Facebook, DC Campbell 1954 at yahoo.com on the web, and on there it's got a link where you can go and check me out and contribute if you want. And but it's
you don't have a Facebook campaign or on Instagram?
I'm on the Instagram.
Okay.
You can go on my Facebook page and see all my Instagram hookups and everything.
Okay, and I'll look for those, and then I'll put them on the description of the show. That way, people can find them easily.
It's I've got some stuff on Facebook and
okay.
my web there.
Okay, Don Campbell for IID
Division 3.
Okay, and like I said, I'll put it on the description of the show. That way, people can click on it, and it'll take it to
that way they can go and hit an interview or whatever. And it's been nice, Jose. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming out to Calexico and having a conversation with me. Once again, shout out to Will for hooking us up. But yeah, thank you again. Good luck with your campaign. And
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening or watching. Stay tuned for more interviews with the candidates, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.